Hello and welcome to UX Leadership by Design. I'm your host, Mark Baldino. And as you can see, we have a very special episode. I had a lot of special episodes recently, but this one, I'm actually in person with fellow Fuzzy Math co founder, Ben Ihnchak. And we're here actually in Chicago. And we had a Fuzzy Math on site for the past few days. And as part of wrapping up our final day, the team has submitted questions. And so we're actually recording live in front of a studio audience, which is both pretty fun and I think for Ben and I, slightly nerve wracking. So that's going to be the format. We're going to bounce some questions back and forth, some for me, some for Ben, and some for both of us. But I appreciate folks for continual listenership of the podcast. If you like this episode, I encourage you to like and share on all the social media platforms that you utilize. So, Ben, I don't actually know how many episodes of UX Leadership by Design you've listened to. You can say all of them, but what I always ask people to do is give themselves a little bit of an introduction. So, if you can introduce yourself to the audience, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm Ben Ihnchak. I have been working with Mark for I want to say almost 19 years, and almost 17 of those at Fuzzy Math.
God bless you.
That is a little less than half my life. Been working with Mark. Really quick background. Worked at a startup when I was in high school. A couple friends of my sister's a little bit older. It was like the .com boom. They wanted to start started selling stuff that we did ourselves: skateboards, paintball guns, music. Kind of fell in love with software development, like software design. Went to school for computer science. Went to grad school for human computer interaction, was a fancy word for UX. And then I worked as a backend developer. Eventually met Mark. That was like 19 years ago. That's why.
19.
That's super short version.
That is the short version, but probably what folks who are listening to the podcast are happy with. We could go into all the details, and we are in terms of these questions. So I don't. We have like a handful of questions from the team, which is pretty exciting. And Ben and I haven't read them, so we're gonna both. I'm gonna read them live, and then we're gonna kind of go from there, and then we might open it up to some additional follow ups from the fuzzy mathers that are in the room. Okay, Ben. Here's question number one. What would people be surprised to learn about your co-founder? So what would be people surprised to learn about you?
Man, that is a tough one to start with. What would people? Oh man, I don't know. Mark's one of the handiest people I know. Has very strong opinions about Italian food. What else? Man, I should have cheated and looked at the questions. The amount of like family time Mark is a very large family. I don't know if that's come up in the podcast or not. But then like family time and how important family is to Mark, big family, all that stuff is not the work side of things. Maybe that's it. Mark and I are very different. We're just rolling with it. Mark and I are really different. I bring myself to work. Mark is work, and then real life Mark are two different things. I think that's really interesting. And I think so almost that divide, like there's a whole separate Mark that people don't really see at Fuzzy Math. I think it's super interesting.
Well, thank you. That is interesting and a whole. That's definitely true. Okay, so for Ben, what would people be surprised to learn about your co-founder? I think Ben is like incredibly dedicated towards what he does and can be really single-minded at times, but with competing initiatives. So like right now, Ben is in a pretty I don't know what the right word is. You are training a lot and you are like solely dedicated. That's a new phase of kind of your life for the past few years. And like you're in it and like driven. And Ben does the same thing, I think, on projects. He's very focused and driven to deliver a specific project, and he gets very into that mode. He's in the mode of founder at times and very dedicated to making that work and pushing those people around him. So I don't know if it shouldn't be a surprise for people that have worked with him, but Ben kind of comes off as a little bit like laid back. He's got a good sense of humor, but like he's he can be pretty intense, and those things are like multiple phases of Ben's life that are intense at the same time, and his dedication is pretty impressive. So, um, okay, Ben,
Yeah.
maybe I'll go first. See what you think, but I'll ask a question. If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice when starting out, what would it be? Okay, this is a good one. This is a good question. So, what advice would I could have gotten when we started out, and what would it have been? I kind of joke that no one really gave me any advice. I was pretty. I feel like I live a very privileged life. I started a company with Ben, with one additional founder at the start, and like no one said we were crazy, and no one told us we shouldn't do it. And I think a lot of other people that try to start businesses, everyone's just putting in their face why they shouldn't do it and assume it's going to fail. And we didn't get that. We're fortunate. That's not necessarily a piece of advice, but the one piece of advice that I would probably like to have received um, is that I don't think you. I believe this. I don't think, but it took me a while to learn. I don't think you have to. I think mixing like financials and what you do for work and like passion, I think is a double edged sword, and I don't think you need to try to balance those two. I think, in fact, and Ben mentioned I do stuff around the house. I try to be handy. Like, I think if I tried to make a living off of that, it would bring me a lot less joy. And actually, these days, I think I need a separation between those two. So, not feeling like, I think early on, I sort of felt like this had to be the thing I was the most passionate about, I had to love everything about running a business. Like, it's hard. And it's not that I mean, you need to like your job, especially the one that you're getting paid for. Certainly, if you can find an overlap and you love it and it's your passion, but I think that's really, really hard. So, I just think advice would be like, it's okay to have those two be a little bit separate. So Ben, what do you think's a piece of advice you wish you had gotten?
Oh man, there's
Sorry, so if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice, I misread the question, but I think I still answered it. Does that change it at all?
I think the funny one is, you should don't have kids at a certain point in your life. That was hard. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's actually, I'm gonna kind of riff off Mark's. I think there's I'm probably in the camp of find something you really like doing and find a way to make money off that. But I think what fuzzy math is and what we do, there's parts of it like I truly deeply enjoy, but I think that's just like that would be part of my life no matter what I do. Like I kind of like people, certain people a lot. I like the people I'm surrounded by at fuzzy math a ton, and like seeing like working with people is great. So I don't know. Watching people grow is really really interesting to me, like seeing people. We've had multiple examples of people coming through the door as interns, super fresh out of school, and then watching them grow in their career is really really interesting to me. I don't know what advice I could give myself to that, but I think we pay more attention to that early on. And like if you capture that and like help other people succeed, they stick around for a really long time. I think we did that, but we weren't doing it like intentionally early. I think the earlier if we got onto that, the easier things would be. You know, trusting other people could surely be something that would be helpful for me. Things like that. But I didn't know what I was doing when we started the company. I was young. I didn't know, like, nobody was saying that's a good idea or a bad idea. There was just people like looking at me like surprised to be like, all right, whatever. And it worked out really well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think we've made huge missteps, but I think learning to trust people a little earlier in my life would have been easy or better.
And no, neither of us said don't start a business, don't do consulting, which I think some people have that answer. And I would have started fuzzy math over, and maybe we would have changed a few things along the way.
Yeah.
But it's been a good run for almost 17 years. So okay, Ben, we're going to stick with you. This is a question just for you, and it's related to something you mentioned. With having a family and running a company, do you have any hard rules surrounding work life balance?
Yeah, I do. Uh, my superpower is I don't have to sleep a lot, and I think that's one of the greatest gifts I have. I like this is like it's I don't know. This is true. I'm a dad first. That's my first priority in life. I love my kids more than anything. Um, they're very important to me. I think the way I came from a family. My dad died when I was young, and he was sick for my early life. My kids are the single most important thing in my life, and I do everything I can for them. That's priority one every single day. Two is I work. I'm a worker. I like working hard. I like putting everything I have into stuff and being really, really proud of it. And so everything I touch that has my name on it, whether that's Ben Ihnchak or Fuzzy Math, I really care, and I know it really drives people insane sometimes. I promise I'm working on it. And then three is like everything else in my life. Three's probably my wife, Christy. She's fantastic, amazing. We have a really good relationship, and we've been together for like 25 years at this point. Fourth is exercise, and then there's nothing else. Like that's the entirety of my life. I don't really have hobbies. People say you exercise. It's not a hobby. It's like a compulsion. I have to do it. But that's kind of it. So that's like work life balance is really everything in my life falls down that priority scale, and I love it. I love all four of those things, and I like I have some rough edges at times about like what Mark was saying earlier. I can get a little single minded, and I can get a little I have expectations, and I don't think I'm special. So like what I can do, I kind of expect out of other people, which isn't fair sometimes because I'm older. I've done it more than they have, but I'm surrounded by incredibly talented people here, and priority and work life balance is it's just you can sleep less, but everything follows through that 1 to 4 priority list every single day.
Right on. Thanks, Ben. You're supposed to ask me this question, but I'm going to ask myself since you don't have the questions in front of you. So this is just for me. What was an idea or a quote, rule, unquote, you had when you started out building your business that turned out to be not realistic or as important to keep as you thought starting out? I had this conversation in Toronto 2 weeks ago with a client. I tend to be pretty process oriented and or process, depending on what part of North America you're in. And so when we first started, I was like, well, what's our process? What's our process? And I spent I don't know how many decks I have selling like that describe process and different ways to do what we do. And at the time, I mean, truthfully, like um, when we started Fuzzy Math in 2009, it was kind of the last down economy and the housing crisis. And so we were just starting in kind of like not a great economy. And we were actually starting a company doing UX, and people weren't really talking about UX that much. We had an honest debate as to whether we should call ourselves a UX consultancy. And actually, I think we bounced from like product strategy, digital product strategy, which is interesting because now that term is back and being used a lot. But we stuck with UX. So I was obsessed with what's our process and how to sell on process. And what I've learned is, or what that was sort of a rule I thought, because I'm not a salesperson. I'm a designer and I want to follow a process. Is that it's not, it's easy to say it's outcomes, but that you should be selling on and not process. But I think clients only a very small percentage of clients care about process. And I think if you describe it in a half a slide, or they know you have it, or you built on some credibility, you don't really have to talk about it. It is about outcomes. It's about what you've done, but actually it's really the relationship, which is something I think also is one of Ben's superpowers is establishing relationships short and long term with folks who work for Fuzzy Math and with our clients. And that's all about relationship building. And if you are selling to somebody who's really process oriented, we can do it because we have it, but it's probably not like a great long term client. But if we can find people who are looking to establish a relationship with us, who want to invest in our people and we want to invest in their company, like that's what we should be selling on. So process matters. I think sometimes as designers, we get a little dogmatic about it because we see the chaos around us in organizations. And we're like, and I do this all the time. I have to apply a process to it to make sense of it, but it's really about understanding the humans that we're working with and building a relationship with them, which I think all of the team that's in the room here does an amazing job at. And that's what we should try to sell on, although it's kind of, it may sound like it's, it's a sales tactic to sell on that, but really that's what we do. We build lasting relationships with our clients, and that's really effective. And I didn't think I didn't even know to think in that regards early on. Okay, Ben,
Yeah.
back to you. But this is a question for both of us. What accomplishment or milestone are you most proud of throughout your Fuzzy Math journey?
There's going to be a theme. We had our like an alumni party on Monday, and seeing people come back And there's a bunch of people that I stay in touch with, even after even after they've left. Generally, when somebody's leaving Fuzzy Math, they contact me and they tell me about it first, and that's part of the deal.
Thank you.
And then we're still like just seeing people come back and having good relationships with the people that have worked here. That we, I don't think this is an easy job. I don't think anybody chooses because it's like, oh, this is gonna be super simple and like like punch in, punch out, and like get your paycheck. And so it's hard, and like we can have disagreements and we can argue and differences of opinions and strong opinions in every direction, and we still have really good relationships with people that left years ago and like a decade ago. Somebody came back just to like hang out with us and get pizza. I think that's super cool. It's not like I want to say this politically. The accomplishments that I'm most proud of aren't like project work. Like I love the designing stuff is super fun. Learning about businesses and our clients and the challenges we face is super super enjoyable, and I love it. But that's not what I'm going to be thinking about on my deathbed. It's going to be like the reputation we've built, how people have thought about me. If I needed help, I think I could reach out to a bunch of people that are like work related people in my life, and they'd probably help me out. I think that's like truly meaningful to me, and it matters.
That is 100% true. Accomplishment. I mean, we've had a few. Like when I think about the journey, there's a few that I'm proud that Ben and I like navigated through. The first, like in year 2, we had a founder who decided to go sort of switch careers and leave Fuzzy Math, and that was like horrifying because that person was doing a lot of sales, and it was like, can we even keep this company going? And we just like buckled down and service the clients that we had, and started to hire staff that could help us. And but that was a pretty big change because there was a chance really early on that the company just wouldn't exist. And we made a really big change during COVID. I mean, a bunch of companies did in terms of moving to remote. And this I think is less a credit to me and Ben and more to the team. Like we had to change our culture. And I talked to a few of the folks who were at the alumni event about it because one didn't even know we didn't have an office. So assumed we all worked together in Chicago. But like the connection between all Fuzzy Mathers at a period of time is really, really strong. And I think it was interesting that person didn't notice that it felt like we were a remote company. Actually felt like we were connected. And so we kind of had a big culture shift, which was what does culture mean? And in the age of a remote company, and that largely came from the team to figure that out. And I'm really proud that we are now a remote first company and can still get together and hang out. And I think honestly, we deliver the same level quality of work in remote that we did when we were in person. And then most recently, and this is one, but I'm giving 3, is like we now run the company kind of like more adult like. We track dollars and figures. We have a leadership team. So for folks that don't know, we have a head of people and a head of ops now. That's the 4. Ben and I are added to that, and that's 4-person leadership team. We make decisions together. It was a founder led and really driven company for probably the first 13 years of Fuzzy Math. And it is to everybody who works with Fuzzy Math, whether you're an employee or a client, it's to their benefit that that's not the case. We still make maybe some bigger, higher level strategic decisions, but really everything is run through a leadership group. And we just run it. I don't know how to say. We run it more professionally, and it feels a lot better. I think it feels better to the team, and I think it feels better to Ben and I. There's always a weight on the shoulder of founders, but I think having a leadership team and the way we take running the business more seriously is a big shift, and I think a really positive one for the business. Okay, Ben. Any misconceptions people have about the industry? Oh no, I'll go first. Are there any misconceptions people have about the industry that you'd like to clear up? That we slow things down, I think, is the single biggest misconception about designers, because we are always talking about research, research, research. So if you're in product management and you're listening to this, we don't want to slow things down. We want to do research because we want to help you folks do your job more effectively. We are generally wanting to talk to human beings because they're the people that need to use the software. we usually have a loose sense of a problem, and so we want to engage with people to better understand that problem and frame it, and then start to put solutions out there. But all people hear is like, you're going to slow things down, or we don't have time or energy for it. But it's really about building a solid foundation. And the misconception is that we're slowing things down, but actually, in actuality, and everybody here at Fuzzy Math, past, present, and eventually future, will know that when we are able to establish a better foundation, things are faster in the long run. Down, sort of further down the work stream, things are going to go faster. So I just think it's a misconception that like we demand research and we're going to slow everything down from a design perspective. But I will say, in very, very few instances is design ever, and actually, I mean, like getting to design and designing UI is a bottleneck in processes. It's always in the initial framing of problems and understanding, because it's really hard. Um, and so we kind of get looked at as a group that slows things down, but actually our process speeds things up incredibly in the long run.
Do I get like a +1 answer?
Yeah,
I
there's
don't.
no rules. It's just two of
I
us,
don't,
man.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I have. I don't know if I have anything. Like I, I don't know. I don't know if I have a strong opinion on this one.
All right, all right. Well, then I'm gonna give you a tough one.
Perfect.
Um, what are some recent challenges with stakeholders that you faced?
Oh man, never had a
Should have looked at the
challenging
questions ahead of
stakeholder.
time.
I what is one? A let's over the years some thematic issues I've wrestled with stakeholders. Sometimes really large organizations, you know, there's a lot of internal political stuff, and we're outsiders. And as an outsider, I don't necessarily care about that. I care about like doing the work and getting the project to a really good spot. And that can kind of put us in a weird position that we're making somebody look good, or by doing something else we're making somebody else look bad. And there's like just internal politics at play that are kind of like not my thing. That can be difficult at times if we don't really know what's going on internally, if we're advocating for something too strong or too much or not enough, or not supporting the people that we're supposed to be supporting or should be supporting. That can be a tricky one at big orgs. Small orgs, we can be the people that tell our stakeholders like, hey, this is your idea, and like, ooh, that thing is rough, and we're telling people their baby's kind of ugly, and that's really hard, and you have to be delicate about that. um I personally struggle with uh, stakeholders that are hiring us, but then also telling us what to do, or they think of themselves as the like responsible for telling us what to do. Of like, well, it should be this, or like just go design that thing. Where we're independent people with independent thoughts and a process that brings ideas to the table. So if it's a different direction than what we're thinking of, like, hey, we did research and here's our ideas, and they're kind of like, no, just go do this thing instead. That's really hard for me. I think really hard for fuzzy math is people that are very smart, very intelligent, and bring their own point of view. And then just to kind of feel like we're an extension of a stakeholder's arm of them, you're just kind of my team and you're going to go do this thing is tricky. I will say that's probably the most enjoyable part of projects for me. Like there's like, recoiling and um there can be friction at times, but I think working through those types of problems and proving ourselves, proving our worth, explaining our ideas, and getting alignment is like the singular thing that I really really love doing. Like the tricky people problems. It's not always smooth and it's not always perfect, and we don't always succeed. But I do think those types of things are friction points with external leadership from fuzzy math, and it's like the challenge of what we do is in our jobs. I like it.
It's so interesting you say that, because I feel the same way. Like that challenge of like stakeholder alignment is like really interesting to me now, and I enjoy it, and it's really rewarding. I don't we neither of us do design anymore. Do you think it would be different if you were still in a role where you were like both? Because at some point Ben and I would like do everything except visual design, but it was like sales, set up the account management, do the wireframe. Like, do you think it'd be different? Your enjoyment of stakeholder management if you were still doing design?
Yeah, I think I have a little bit more time to just focus on that, and I think we have a incredibly talented design team where sometimes the design is the easy part of the project, but that's just because there's a team dedicated to it. And I think sometimes the leadership, stakeholder management is the hard part of the project or the easy part. But I think having that, division of labor from like our teams and our companies more mature now. So we have account leads and designers and PMs, and everybody's kind of working together. And so the differentiation of role does make it a little bit more like I can attack this one problem, big or small, and focus on it, and other people can attack their problems and focus on those. Does make it more enjoyable.
I would agree. So I was like, when I think of recent challenges, I mean, I'm enjoying the stakeholder like alignment, but I mean, I think recent challenges for me are like, not enjoying that too much, but like maybe it's stakeholder appeasement is what it might look like from the outside, which is like listening to the client too much or advocating for the client too much. There's a lot of financial pressure on a firm of all sizes, but on a firm of our size. So when you have clients and it's this established relationship, like to Ben's point, like how do you do that in a way where you're kind of pushing and pulling? They want to see us as strategic advisors. They don't want us to be sort of yes people. And we want to feel like we can push back on them, but that gets hard. And for me personally, it gets hard because I don't want to be seen as sort of like a squeaky wheel with our clients. And they actually kind of ask for both things. I speak from my perspective, which is like help support our team, but tell us when we're wrong. And that's like a really hard balance. And I probably have not figured that out yet, even 25 years into my career. So my biggest challenge is really like, how do you balance what Fuzzy Math needs, what Fuzzy Math team, so Fuzzy Math is a business entity. How do you balance that with what the Fuzzy Math team needs? How do you balance that with the client as a business entity and the client stakeholders? Like it's pretty complex. And so I think it's just always a good reminder for me. And when I have conversations with my project team or with Ben, or even sometimes with the client, of this reminder to like reset that relationship and make sure that, I'm advising them on what they need versus like what they need to hear and sort of appeasing them. But it's really, I mean, it's really, really hard and it's complicated. And frankly, it should be complicated, but it's probably a pretty big challenge for me. Okay, we're gonna ask a few more questions, but Ben, at some point, I'm gonna ask you for a question for me that's not on the list. So this is in the back. You're good at multitasking. So, okay, this is a Ben only question. Can you share the aha moment that made you realize the market needed Fuzzy Math
Oh God,
and
yeah,
what we provide?
yeah. That
Do you have an answer for this?
oh,
Oh, okay, okay. I thought you would be like, yeah, I got it.
no, that I no that that's, I don't think that ever happened. I think the aha moment for me is I never like having a boss. I was doing freelance stuff when I had my last like full time job. So I quit my job and I was like, I bet I could do this myself. And I had nothing planned. This is a horrible decision. It's a horrible way of like running your life as a mid 20-year-old. And it worked out really well. It had nothing to do with business school or like there's a need for this. It was purely like I don't like my current life necessarily and I'm going to change something. Um I can tell the super short version of like I gave my 2 weeks notice. It was my last day of work. I was riding my bike home from Lincolnwood, Illinois, into the city. I was crying because it was dawning on me like I don't have a paycheck and I have nothing planned. Like this is a horrible decision. At the time I was
It's a real bad decision.
real bad decision. I was at the corner of Kimball and Addison, crying. My backpack buzzed. It was a phone call. A guy said, "Hey, I have some work. What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, literally nothing. I just left my job and I have nothing planned." He's like, "Why don't you come in on Monday?" And then I met Mark that following Monday, and things worked out from there. So it was not like, "Hey, here's this market and we can fit and do this." It was like, I have a skill set and I'm willing to work hard, and I bet I can do this myself. And then the universe aligned and it worked out. But it was absolute horrible planning and decision making. That's how it worked out for me.
Right place, right time, and a lot of hard work. I think I think a lot of success is like that, and that was certainly the case for me. So that was a Ben only question. This was a Mark only question, which is I kind of touched on, but how do you balance delivering immediate client needs with helping clients think through long-term business strategy? I mean, that is the crux of the issue. And so I used to have a diagram in like our company updates, which was like short term over emphasize client needs, long term emphasize like fuzzy math needs. But in this case, like immediate versus long term strategy, we have to deliver in this market. We have to deliver in the short term. There's not a lot of pure strategy projects. To be honest, like ones we've pitched over the past few years have been very, very hard to win. I think we have won some and we've had a great process and outcomes in terms of like getting there and helping them sell that sort of like long term business strategy. But it's going to sound simple. I think for organizations, they're moving at speed and they want immediate impact. I think there's a lot of push on efficiency given AI. So, I've said this to the team a bunch of times, like product management is and developers are out there using Gen AI to give us wireframes or designs, and that's like a big change. So there's this big push that like UI is what's kind of slowing things down. So we kind of have to meet the immediate need, and then you have to work in parallel to sort of establish the strategic components. And sometimes that strategy isn't like business strategy; it's like doing research, right? So following a linear process of research and discovery and competitive and comparative analysis and synthesis and let's do concepting and roadmap and then okay let's break it down into IA and then let's go wireframes and then visual design like that rarely happens these days. So instead it's we need to do some incremental work to show frankly value and that we can move at pace and speed, and that's the immediate need, while doing things in parallel which are the development of the business strategy. And I think for that, um, it's a lot about understanding what the business strategy is and what those metrics and numbers are, and then how we can align our work. But I think it's just I just don't think I don't think it's happening a lot that this is linear anymore. I think we are doing everything everywhere all at once, and we got to keep track of it all and both deliver in the short term and the long term. Okay. I had one more. Okay. Ben, what has been your favorite year at Fuzzy Math besides this year? And why, in terms of clients, projects, team composition, activities, etc.?
I feel like everybody in this room knows that there's no chance I can identify a singular event. Like, everything's just a gray tornado in my brain. The best year, man. Um, I don't know what year. Well, yeah, I can figure out the year. Hold on. Seven. This is good. 7 4 2017. So that was my oldest daughter was born in 2017. Easily the most miserable multiple year stretch of my life started that year, but I learned so much about myself and what I like and what I care about. And it was, I'm not a baby guy necessarily, which I didn't know until we had the first one. Babies are really hard. They don't give you a whole lot back. It's a one-way street. But that was also, there was a huge project that we were like, it wasn't a project, it was like an engagement we were working on. And I was really burning the candle on both ends. And I learned a ton about being a consultant. I learned a ton about people. I learned a ton about like what's important in life and like priorities. And, you know, I can make it with very little sleep for a very long amount of time. And I carry a lot of lessons from those years, like 2017 through 2024 ish, of what you can do, how you do it, digging deep. I think there's a lot of like I can accomplish a lot if I set my mind to it and really focus on stuff. And I think that was the first year of really like I was really tested for the first time in my life, and I think I came through in a okay spot. Fuzzy Math did amazing during those years. People really stepped into roles that they had to step into. One of them is still in the room with us today. Um, I hope it's just two of us, I guess. Trying to make sure I'm not offending somebody on accident. Really good at doing. Uh, but that was it. That was like a pressure cooker, and I think in the moment, I don't know if I enjoyed a single day of my life for a very long time. But looking back, huge parts of who I am today came from those years.
Yeah, it's interesting. I really struggle with this question, even though I chose to read it out aloud because a lot of them bleed together. And I would be probably, I'd look at some of the recent years, but actually for some reason 27 does stand out. I had like a pretty big life changing event in 2016. I took a little bit of time off. I traveled, and then 2017 kind of. Ben and I had this conversation. I was like, I don't know if I want to stick around with fuzzy math, not because of anything in fuzzy math. I was just like, is this how I want to be spending my time? And to a point we've made a few times, but Ben was clear to make earlier, like it's really about the people and the people in my life, and you all are people in my life and are important to me. And the team was like a reason I decided to come back in 2017 or kind of re-engage. And so it was just like it was a transitional point in my life and in running the business, and I felt like it's interesting to hear you kind of say the same year because I don't know if like anything grand happened other than I felt like I was going to be a little bit more committed to running fuzzy math and doing this. Cause I think when I started, I was like, we'll do this for a few years. I don't know what we thought we were going to do. What was the plan, Ben? Run it for 25 years? I don't think that was the plan. Yeah. 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 That's what we're going to do tomorrow. Right. And so, but I think in like around that time, it was like, no, this has legs and we've been running it for a while. It's been 8 years, something like that. Let's keep it going. So I'd probably say something similar.
I, yeah, I think this made me think of this. I think um this is the tears one. The back in the day, generally it was this guy Nick would interview folks, and then me and Mark would come in at the end, and it was you know, you know, let me know, like, are we trying to sell this person on fuzzy math or not? And like, how bad do we want them to work here? And I would tell everybody, and this is the honest God truth, still to this day, like my goal in life is just to get out of bed and not be miserable. That's it. That's the only thing I want for myself is to get out of bed and be like, I have to go work because that's where I'm at in life, and I don't want to be miserable. And I want to like look forward to it. I've been there before. Like, oh man, I have to go to work and it's be like 10 hours to go home again, and like just that. I just refuse to do it. And I want that true of everybody that works with fuzzy math. And I don't think I've said a single thing about design this entire time. I really like designing stuff. I went to grad school for it. I think at one point I was decent at it. Those days are behind me. But just liking the people you're surrounded by, like I see fuzzy math more than I see my wife and family, and enjoying them and enjoying the work. And it's hard, and people are kind of can be terrible at times. Nobody at fuzzy math is. I think that's so important, and it like the people in this room choose to be here every day. Nobody's forced to be here, and I'm very aware of that. And I think it's just like critically important of like what is the purpose of all this stuff, and like life in general. And it's just like being surrounded by people and like miserable. So it's like so important to me. And we chose a really fun job that can be incredibly hard for long periods of time. I had no idea what I was getting into about running a business or like what we were going to do with work, but I'm very appreciative of it. I think it's worked out really well, and I hope it's true for everybody else in this room.
Right on. I think you answered the last question before I ask your off the cuff question for me, which is what surprised y'all? I can know where this question came from. What has surprised y'all the most about founding and running a business? What's been the most rewarding part? What's been the most challenging? We've covered some of these along the way. I mean, I think the most rewarding part is the people and the careers. Like I I said this to a former employee and she was kind of surprised. I guess some people that you work for when you leave and go other places are like, I don't know, like obviously we're disappointed when people leave fuzzy math, but like I want people to go on and have an amazing career and hopefully in design. And I love to see where people are working and what they're up to. And if we had like a small part in that, that's like really exciting. If somebody wants to stay at fuzzy math for as long as humanly possible, like we are welcome. You are welcome to stay. But when people leave, like it's kind of an exciting point because it means it's a shift in their career. Of course, it's always nice when they come back, like at the alumni event, and they work for these giant corporations and are like, "This was the best job I had." Oh yeah, that's the other part. This was the best job I had. I had the most fun working with Mark and Ben, which is always like nice. You're saying that to me to my face. Obviously, if you're a former Fuzzy Math employee and you work for a large corporation, we primarily service enterprise and B2B software companies, delivering consumer grade design to make business tools more effective and efficient and usable. So higher us. But I do think that that's also kind of the most like it's kind of surprising is like the people side of this. Like I didn't. I didn't start Fuzzy Math to create a community called Fuzzy Math or create design careers, but that's been like really, really, really rewarding. And if I've played a tiny role in anyone's career, like that's super exciting for me. Ben, anything you want to add in terms of surprised about founding and running a business? Rewarding?
I mean, I find it rewarding. It's incredibly hard. Didn't know what I was doing. I think I've covered the people stuff matters so much to me if that hasn't come through. Um, no, I think like I reflect on this all the time. I think it's really funny. I spent a lot of time designing stuff. Spent a lot of time going to school. Spent a lot of money on that of my own money. And now I do stuff that has nothing to do with design. I think that there's something humorous there. Um, but no, like all the stuff I've already mentioned. People rule. The people at Fuzzmath are great. I like hard problems, and I think it's a very fun way to make a earning, like make a living and move through life.
I'm going to ask you for your question for me. And then if anyone has any follow ups, feel free to raise your hand. We'll do some from the audience as well. So, Ben, your off the cuff question.
Yeah, I think the best I can think of in the on the fly is like, what's the singular like the highlight of your day every day? I think we think of like the right seats and right people, interests, and like this is a hard life. What are the highlights?
Work or none?
Oh, I was thinking work, but I think non's
No, no,
smart.
that's fine.
Why
Oh.
not both?
I mean, I like, I do have to admit, I like not having an office and like an office to go into. And so I like getting my day started and having coffee and getting going. Um, I mean, the highlight of a day is probably time where I'm talking to one of you folks, one of the Fuzzy Math employees, and like a team member feels, I can tell they feel fulfilled or rewarded or that they feel like they've done a good job and are kind of proud of themselves. So that's not like a daily thing. When that happens, it's like, it's pretty cool and feels very like empowering for the team. And that fills me with joy and kind of keeps me going because I know there's a lot of challenges and a lot of BS we have to put up with, and that's interpersonal, clients, life, like all that sort of stuff. We all bring it all to the office, but when I can feel after a conversation that somebody's had a rewarding moment on a client project through Fuzzy Math, like that's really a highlight of my day. So that and like morning coffee outside. Anybody here in at Team Fuzzy Math have a follow up question for Ben and I? Yes. I actually don't know how you guys met. Oh, okay. So the question is, how did Ben and I meet? By chance. And so about a week before, Ben had his sad ride home. Our third founder, Jason, had we worked together, and Ben was in grad school, Jason, and so he left the job first, and then he's like, "Hey, there's some freelance work. Do you want to come do it?" And I was like, "All right, I think I can do it." And then of like a week, literally a week later, so I left my job, my full time job. I started freelancing, which was cool and really interesting. And then Ben joined, and we were just in this like kind of odd office on the second floor, and like I don't know, next to train tracks. And so we started working together. And then I thought Ben was like a tried and true hippie. Like I didn't couldn't quite understand his vibe. What is and I realized it was much more like of the it was much more like skater punk kind of, but not like straight edge skater punk. Like it was just, but I thought he was like a hippie. Like I didn't think he had a TV in his house. It may have been, I don't know what it was. So I was like trying to feel Ben out for a while. And then an interesting thing happened, which is like over the course of 16 and a half years, like Ben and I have like from a alignment perspective probably agreed on I don't know 95 96% of it, and we just realized really early on that we enjoyed working with each other, and we were sort of like aligned there even though our backgrounds were different, skill sets were different. And we got very fortunate because I think a lot of people are in business with folks that they don't trust, and I've trusted Ben from the day I met him, and it's the best decision I made, which was to start a business with Ben. And that was a conscious decision, right? Who's going to be in this business? Who's going to be a founder? How do we want to structure it? And I am, I I got lucky meeting Ben and was very fortunate that I picked a partner that I have trusted from day one through day 16 and a half years, something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I vividly remember the first day working that red carpet, the whiteboard, and yeah, it's funny. This comes up every couple of years. I say yeah, man, all the time. Like in what AIM? We were using AIM back then to communicate, and so he would say something, I would be like, yeah, man, like I'll take care of it, whatever. It took a while, but like a year or three later, Mark's like, "Oh, I just thought you were saying Yaman," and I was like,
Really? I
"What?"
don't remember that.
No, I vividly remember hearing that, and like I've never thought those words in my head ever
That's
in
so
my
good.
entire life. But yeah, like I had longer hair at one point, and
Maybe that was it. It was the hair that threw me off.
no, that's like I'm way too high strung for that. I hide it, or I try to hide it. I think from this week I'm hearing I'm failing at hiding it, but no, definitely not a hippie.
Any other questions, folks? Yeah.
Question: what's like a strength of the other co-founders that you like are really appreciative that you can lean on them to do this thing because they're really good at it?
Yeah. I mean, it's easy. It's relationship building. We've been putting like an advisory board together, and we're going through the list of folks and all of the people that have like long term connections with Ben, with Fuzzy Math, or through Ben, and a lot of are his contacts. And I don't think Ben. I'd probably do it like more strategically of like these are people I want to align myself with, and Ben's all about like relationship building. And I think the same thing could be said from like the alumni. It's people who leave Fuzzy Math are closer contact with Ben than me, and I probably at some point in my life would have like been jealous, but I just realize it's one of Ben's. It is, I think, his biggest superpower is establishing relationships with people, and that benefits everyone's careers who works here and benefits the business. So I have nothing to be jealous about. It is truly impressive.
I back in the day, my therapist would tell me I view the world through people instead of like structures and like how other people look at stuff. And I think like it's kind of working out. But I think I'm absolutely a people person, and like I care so much more about that stuff than I do like the ins and outs of projects and process. And I feel like maybe I don't respect SOPs as often as I should. Mark's strength that makes it work is the opposite of what he just said. It's like process and thinking strategically and like where we should go as a business and how we should handle stuff, how projects should run. Where I'm kind of like whatever, it's a free for all. Let's figure it out as we go, and I'm very comfortable with that. I think not great all the time, and so Mark bringing like process and structure, me bringing some like people stuff and like relationship building is really like a perfect fit. And like Fuzzy Math without Mark is going to be a very weird place, and I think Fuzzy Math without me is going to be a very different place, like structured, and like the without those two parts, I think things get real bad real fast. um and yeah, we agreed on almost everything for 19 years, 17 years. That's insane in a lot of ways. I'm more married to Mark than I'm my wife. Like there's legal contract, and like there's it's a business relationship, but it's like it's not. And like I would never be in a like purely business relationship. It just doesn't fit my worldview. Works really well.
I get advice early on, which was as you're running a business, would you would you start a business tomorrow with the same person or the same partners? And my answer has since day one has always been yes to that question. And I think there's a lot of people who run businesses that it's no, but they're kind of trapped and stuck in that business and they don't feel like they have the flexibility there. But it's a very good sign for anybody who is running a business. Would you start a brand new business in HVAC with that person or something non-related to web? And my answer has always been I would definitely start another business with that. Okay, time for one more question, Jaleesa.
Okay, so knowing that we're B2B across all industries because we like money, is there a favorite industry that you all like working in, either present or past? Like, are you like, I'm really jonesed about healthcare? Like, I really love tech. Like, is there an industry you all kind of enjoy?
Obviously, we like every industry
Because you like money.
and we like money. Working with cultural institutions touches on both personal interests and professional skill set, and Like we chose to do like a pro bono project with the Brookfield Zoo, which is near and dear to my heart, and it's really really it was fun. And like we got to choose them, but we didn't get paid, but it was super fun and interesting, and like they have all the challenges that we would look for in like an ideal project for us of strategy and the tactical and like all these different touch points across journeys, digital, in person, signage, all that stuff is just like a sweet spot. We just went to a current client yesterday. They gave us a behind the scenes tour. And I think something slightly different about cultural institutions, and you find this at big enterprise orgs too, like people care there. You also find a lot of people that don't. But we talked to 5 people yesterday. I'm assuming all of them have a PhD after their name, but you could tell this is their life's work and they really give a shit about it. And it is so exciting to me to be surrounded by people like that, of like this matters and they're trying to do something good for the world, and they could work somewhere else and probably make more money doing something else, but they use their brains and their time and their energy probably the entirety of their adult life doing something, and then they had 12 people looking at an object, and they were so excited to talk about it. And I just think there's nothing better in the world of helping somebody like that, ideally if they pay us. But that's it. Like that's people that really, really care. And if we find it at, insurance or accounting, like we can find those people. But if they really care about it, it's so easy to align behind them and say, awesome, how can we help you with the skill set we have? Because I think that's what FuzzMath is. Like that's everybody likes this stuff. It's not a job. It's like, this is what I'd like to do.
Should have had you go second. It's a really good question. I mean, we did a lot of work in healthcare early on, and I loved doing that, but it's complex and it's got dollars and cents involved. And so, some of my favorite projects have been ones that have been a little bit more mission driven. And there haven't been a ton. It's been said they've sometimes been pro bono projects, but they've been really, really rewarding. It's hard to build a business. There are a few design firms that only work with mission driven folks. And I give those founders an insane amount of credit that they can keep that going. And so for me, it's less about industry and it's more about like, are there people at the core of this that care about what they're doing? That really, like to Ben said, give a shit. We can swear on this podcast. And so like that's really, really important. And I do believe you can find that at a healthcare company. You can find it at a not-for-profit or NGO. You can find it at a large, big 4 accounting firm. Like you can find people who care, and that's the folks that I wanna work with. There's a level of passion in what they're doing. So maybe a little bit of a cheat answer, but that's it. Okay, we're gonna wrap up for now. I just want to say, Ben, thank you for your time on the podcast today. Hopefully, this isn't a one and done. If you ever want to lead an episode, host an episode without me, and bring on a guest, you are more than welcome. You're a pro. You can do it. Thanks to the Team Fuzzy Math for the questions along the way, and for your time and attention, and for being a wonderful live studio audience. So that wraps up this episode.